Hello and welcome back to Movie Gear Solid, the series looking back at all the cinematic influences behind the Metal Gear Solid game series by luminary Japanese director Hideo Kojima. In this entry, even though I said we'd do Planet of the Apes next, we're actually doing one a little more directly influential on Metal Gear Solid, namely Michael Mann's 1995 classic, Heat. Heat is one of not only history's greatest action movies, it's one of the greatest movies, period. Directed by the master of police action dramas, Michael Mann, Heat brought together Al Pacino and Robert De Niro on screen for the first time in any film. And really, that's like the least cool thing about it. Heat comes from that golden age right on the cusp of digital and Hollywood action movies, when the vast majority of set pieces and action scenes were still done with practical rather than computer-generated effects. Michael Mann is known for his grounded, gritty, explosive action scenes, and Heat in this regard finds Mann probably at his all-time career peak. The way this movie sounds, just sounds, will blow your mind. After giving as spoiler-free of an account of Heat's main plot as possible, we'll go into how and why it's proven such a major influence on Hideo Kojima, particularly during the making of MGS1 and MGS2. Heat follows the intersecting lives of two men. One, the bank robber Neil McCauley, played by Robert De Niro, and two, LAPD Lieutenant Vincent Hanna, played by Pacino. But there's also a hell of a supporting cast, particularly in the roles of the various fellow bank robbers supporting McCauley, and it's here where MGS fans may notice some similar faces and character archetypes. For instance, John Voight plays the crew's fence, Nate, the guy who sells their stolen stuff on the black market, in other words, and he's a dead ringer for MGS's Revolver Ocelot. This one I would stake my life on. But then there are the other likely inspirations taken from Heat. There are ones that I may not be as sure of, but I still feel pretty strongly about. Like take Val Kilmer's Chris Siheralis, who's sort of like the third main character in the film. His long blonde hair and snake tattoo sure reminds me a lot of Liquid Snake. Meanwhile, this real piece of work who likes to kill for fun, Waingro, while his skullet and general Jack the Ripper demeanor reminds me a lot of Vamp. But we can't say these things for sure. One thing that we do know for sure, though, is that MGS1 in particular looked to Heat for its firearm sound design and the general feel of its weapons. Kojima has said that on record. Val Kilmer actually passed away recently, so if you haven't seen Heat, now you have your excuse. It's probably the best performance in the actor's career. And that's to say nothing of the other performances. Sure, Heat is straight vintage late 20th century Hollywood sometimes, meaning it can feel a little corny, especially in the fraught relationship between Chris and his wife, played by Ashley Judd. But all that aside, it's still a hell of a film. Heat not only has a lot of the edge-of-your-seat twists and turns that you'll find in any MGS, like another huge influence from around the same time, the movie Speed, Heat plays around with the concept of cinema as something that occurs in real time, and this would influence Metal Gear Solid and its own various attempts to bring players, in its case via real-time rendering, into a sense of natural cycles, whether from morning to night or across biomes and battlefields. Heat has a, obsession with heat. Like a Hideo Kojima game, Heat takes its name as more than just a name, but rather as a way of creatively announcing ahead of time some of the production's own themes and motifs. Heat sparks and shimmers in ways that make you sweat. It then comes down like smoke and ashes collapsing, leaving the viewer, despite its insanely long 3-hour runtime, feeling positively breathless. I'd argue that MGS's approach to its special forces units like Foxhound and Dead Cell are as much based on Heat as they are on the real-world memoirs of SEAL Team 6 founder Dick Marcinko. who also founded a unit in the 80s that inspired Dead Cell called Red Cell. His memoir often reads like the exploits of a former bank robber. If you play MGS2 in Japanese, Dead Cell really sound and act like bank robbers.
Queen. ああ、それより面白いものを見つけた。不発。
今日も私は不幸になる。さあ、誰か私に幸福を。
さあな、奴はただの爆弾魔になり下がったようだ。もう思想も理念もない。ジャクソン隊長への忠誠も。
分かった。脱落者は私の手で始末する。くそ。
They take hostages and bark orders, after all. They kill police and federal officials without mercy. They live by their own code, a code forged in fire and blood and based mainly on extracting profit from taking other people's lives in some form or fashion. So it makes sense that Heat and its motley crew of bank robbers and thugs would be one of the wellsprings from which Metal Gear Solid was drawn. Heat also has proven extremely influential, by the way, on the Grand Theft Auto series, with nods to the film in GTA 4 and 5 in particular. It's just one of those movies with an inescapable mark on pop culture. The other major way Heat seems to have influenced Metal Gear Solid has to do with the tone of the film, and the relationship that we see form throughout the movie between the big bad bank robber and the hard-boiled detective obsessed with finally catching him. Heat is a very disillusioned movie, where the abyss gazes back. And where, despite being natural mortal enemies, as people, these two characters come to show a begrudging respect and even camaraderie in some weird way for each other.
I don't know how to do anything else.
Neither do I.
I don't much want to either.
Neither do I.
If you think about how Snake talks to members of Foxhound when they're on their deathbed, with that weird mixture of enmity and respect, it feels right out of Heat, if you ask me. They're both, after all, Heat and MGS, heavily influenced by the genre film noir. That's the common well that both are drawing from. Now, I'm not going to show you this because it spoils the ending, but I swear the ending of Heat provided a major inspiration for Sniper Wolf's death in MGS1. Now, in closing, I do want to say that all the characters from Metal Gear Solid are influenced from more than one place. So you can't just say Ocelot is John Voight from this movie, and I'm not trying to say that. There are also, for example, some references to spaghetti westerns in his character design, like the movie Django from 1966. But that being said, I think it's pretty inarguable that Heat provided a major stylistic influence on the Metal Gear Solid series. So yeah, in case it wasn't clear, every MGS fan should check out Heat. It's an absolute banger of a movie. Until next time, boss.